Hello and welcome. You might be wondering, why is the music so loud? Well, that's because I don't think you want to listen to a overpowered vacuum cleaner running for 12 minutes straight. So, I'm going to have the race volume quite low and have music louder. Because if I just have race volume quite low with me talking, well, that's just kind of odd because then there's not a lot going on in the background. So you can still hear it, but there's some nice music going on. Now, that first corner, I barely tapped the brakes. This is really intense. Full throttle here, full throttle here, full throttle here, little braking point here, full throttle here, full throttle here, dodge that guy, and then coming up this corner, I've never taken this corner full throttle like this. In fact, you can take this whole section full throttle, believe it or not. And that's the only cut I'm going to take. Now, here's one really important thing, okay? You don't have to take any cuts to hit the perpetual point in this car at this track. You can hit it really easily without taking any cuts at all. However, you're going to be giving up fame per minute. And if you're doing this type of a race this way, you're doing it for fame per minute. So, taking that little section off track will enable me to stay full throttle a lot of the time without crashing into other cars. Because you're going to see this gets hectic very quickly. And it's an awful lot of accident avoidance here, and it's amazing how hard you can push this car. But this car gets really skittish at low speeds. So if you try to take certain corners without enough speed, you're going to see that this thing can just go flying off track. And also after it gets a little bit damaged, it gets a little more skittish, but if you've got enough speed, it's quite inconsequential as far as how fast you take a lot of corners in this car. It's pretty cool. I didn't know I was going to test this race. I just recently fully upgraded this car, and man, I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. Because I don't think there's any other car that you stay full throttle for all these first few corners. Like, it's quite ridiculous. And woo, that's probably damaging a little bit. Another thing I noticed is that it's pretty hard to hurt the speed of this car, and I have not cracked the windshield yet with having a lot of crashes. So maybe it eventually cracks, but so far, no crackos. So that cut there, that's a pretty small cut, but I'm maintaining a lot more speed. And I started paying more attention to this in a more recent video I did in the McLaren MP4X at Le Mans, where I was slowing down a lot to skip certain cuts, but then my fame per minute went down, and I went, oh, that's not really what I want to have happening when I'm doing a farming race. So again, this is about farming. And this car, wow, I mean, I ran the event when it was first out to earn this car. And then I waited until, when was it there? Like a week or two ago when there was an upgrade sale on this car. I waited until then. So I have not been having a lot of the fun that some people have been talking about in this car. It's a weird car. One really annoying thing about this car is this gargantuan spoiler that is blocking the how far I've traveled marker, and put in a few requests asking for the Fire Monkeys to adjust the display, and it's just not happening. I guess it must be harder than it appears, or it's going to cause problems in other areas, and whatever. You can change views anytime you want to check your mileage, which you will see very shortly. As soon as I get to the perpetual point, as soon as I actually pass it and get into it, we will check the mileage. Well, shortly after that, so because I might be hitting it in a very hairy point. I might be hitting it right now, actually. Can that be right? Is it this early? Yep, there it is. So, boom, just hitting it now, actually passing into it. And look at that, look how close the cars are already. Now, other things we're going to be doing is we will look at the purchase price and full upgrade costs of this car. You'll notice at the start that I said race started at 17 seconds. That's because I'm going to get into the earnings per minute, and I'm doing that differently from now on. As soon as I hit 50 kilometers, I'm going to slam this thing off track and call the race right then and there. I'll call the end time of the race right at that moment, even though my timer will still have to count down. The reason I'm doing that is so that you can extrapolate those numbers if you want to. For instance, oh, look, There's a case where I went in at the wrong trajectory and maybe a little too fast, and I slid out. I saved it really good. If you're not careful, this thing's nasty. So what I was saying about extrapolating numbers, if you wanted to see, like, well, what happens if I want to run 100 kilometers, no problem. You just double the number and, you know, triple, quadruple, whatever. But keep in mind, if you had a lot of crashes, your fame per minute number will go down compared to what I got. So that's why I want you to see this whole race. I'm going to run it pretty clean and try to do my best. There's going to be, you know, I'm going to keep it real. There's going to be some contact, a few accidents, nothing too insane. And I mean, this is a lot of fun. There are races that pay more, but gosh, is this one ever fun. Something I want to mention before I forget, and that is Ethan Mikesell. That is the music that you hear playing. I'm going to put a link to his website. You can download some of this music for free off of YouTube. It's pretty good if you like this type of music. Coming up next is the upgrade costs. We'll get to that pretty quick here. I've tried driving in driver view a few times in some tracks, and I like it. Not too easy in this car at this track. Okay, so, like I said, we're getting into the cost. So the purchase price of this car is $1,100 gold. To fully upgrade it, $4,148,500 R dollars, 1,620 gold. So, would I recommend that just so you could do this race? No. There's other cars that are substantially cheaper to fully upgrade, and they earn similar fame per minute. Oh, nuts. And then you gotta be careful getting back on track. There was a bot just under me, and I had this happen once where I got back on track a little too aggressively and wait, I just found out that I still have that footage. Roll footage. So here you can see me passing the bot wide, and I lose it in the corner, get back on track, pit maneuver. But that is going to allow me to show you how I could take the next section full throttle and without going off track. Now maybe I couldn't do this all the way from corner one, but still, check it out. I mean, holy smokes, man. Okay, back to your regularly scheduled programming. This is just so crazy, man. Coming into this now, staying full throttle for a while with all this traffic going on. I just love it. This car is stuck to the track so insanely. I mean, wow. Through that corner that time, you could see I gave it a really slight tap to the brakes and a couple of lift points on the gas. And that's because I just didn't feel like it was going to happen. I didn't have the right trajectory, and there was bots just in the worst possible spot. Better to take it a little bit careful once in a while than to plow through it and end up going off track a few times like you've already seen me do. You can just end up wasting a bunch of time, and we don't want to do that because it'll hurt our fame per minute. Now, let me point out what I'm kind of using as my braking references. There's a banner coming up overhead. I'm braking right after I go under it, and then I'm not on those brakes very long. Holy smokes, was I close to the wall. Woohoo! Then I want to stay full throttle through all of this. Full throttle for this, full throttle here, braking just after I go under that banner, and then I should be able to stay full throttle unless there's someone in my way, which there was. Then full throttle all the way till corner one, unless you get a little bit squirrely. Like, let's see here, okay? I got off the gas a little bit there to try to set up my overtake. Don't want to get a T-bone unless you're up for steak. You only need to brake twice per lap here. In fact, if you wanted to, you could lift earlier and skip the braking point, but it's going to be faster if you nail those brakes for a little bit. So this is pretty ridiculous. And with my nice handsome spoiler, you can't really tell how far I have gone unless we start flipping through the screens. Okay, now check this out. Oh my gosh, these bots are getting really tightly grouped, so I'm going to have to be very careful here. I want to keep the momentum though, because I want to maximize that fame per minute. So I'm gonna have to be careful here. Nailed the brakes. One of the weird thing with this car is the strike zone. Not sure how else to phrase it. It's like the zone of contact. Like there. It seemed like I hit that guy slightly before I hit him. It's really strange. I'm not sure if that's because the spoiler sticks out so much. But you have to be careful when you're passing bots. It feels like you could get a lot closer than you can. So it's got a really weird strike zone. I don't know what else to call it than a strike zone or a bash zone or a blah, 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 whatever. It's like at some Daytona races where you're not really that close to a bot, but suddenly it shows that you're hitting him. and it's kind of frustrating. Probably, if you know what I'm talking about, you've already adjusted to it. But that's what I find with this car. It feels like I'm not quite hitting the cars yet, but it's happening. Anyhow, another thing with this car is you can get some really nice side draft with this car, which I find interesting. Very successful side drafting can happen here. I can't remember if I really did much here. Ooh, that was a big tag, wasn't it? Surprised they didn't take me out. That would certainly be a severely damaging event. Huh, no cracks in the windshield, it's okay. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to 50 kilometers here. I would say probably not even one full lap after this. So let's just check this out. I'll keep my eyes on it. Now we know that there's a 4 that we can't see because of the spoiler. Once in a while that 4 peeks out, but then that's about it. Another thing that makes this race so much fun is drafting. I like drafting. And you've noticed that, like I've said in other videos, after you reach the perpetual point, the bots are faster than a fully upgraded car. You can tell because I can be on their tail drafting from them, and suddenly they start pulling away, even though I was gaining. Ooh, that's a big tag. And you can see I'm snaking around and about to hit 50 kilometers, so I will throw it off track. And I'm calling the end at 11 minutes, 20 seconds. Now we're running at 16 times regular speed, so I better talk faster because it's coming to an end very quickly. There you go. Actual race time, 11 minutes, 3 seconds. And that number will become important very quickly. Look at all that damage. And there's the fame pay, so let's blur some of this out so you can see. 1,010 fame per minute, 7,008 R dollars per minute. Of course, you could double that if you hire the manager and the agent, and you can add even more to that if you did this on bonus fame days or bonus R days. Check out some other videos for some fun stuff. Thank you for joining me. Please like, please subscribe, and check out Ethan Mikesell.